Welcome, everyone. I am Michelle Schumann, the Artistic Director of the Austin Chamber Music Center, and we are about to start our festival. I am here with Will Fedkenheur and John Largess, the inner voices. The inner voices.
The real power.
Yeah, right. The inner voices. I mean, the inner voices of the Miró Quartet. They are going to be opening our festival. Our festival this year is like totally revamped. We're starting early and staying late. That's what we're doing. And so we're super excited to have you guys to join us next Friday, the May 12th. So thank you for chatting with me today.
Great to be here, Michelle. We're excited to start off the new format.
Yeah, with you guys, we have the best of all worlds because you're not only the home team, but also you are these touring superstars. And I love for our audiences to remember that, like, even though like we can see you so often, like it's just so great to have you home and to have you at the festival. Tell us where you are now so everyone can get an idea of like what you guys are up to.
Well, I know most of you are probably thinking that this is one of our homes, that we have this kind of artwork, but today we're in Monterrey, Mexico. And we're actually here on a trip with University of Texas Global Events. And so yesterday we gave some teaching at the conservatory here. It's one of the top conservatories in all of Mexico. And tonight we're giving a concert, and we have some alumni events for our Austin home friends who live and work here. And there's actually, University of Texas is one of the largest educational investors and connections for Mexico in its entirety. And so it's very special to be here because you're connected to our home there in Austin. And at the same time, we get to stay in hotels with this kind of artwork behind us and feel fancy.
They also have free mezcal by the elevator.
What? But
it's just there.
I'm sure you're not partaking in that because you're working, right? You know, you're
in the morning. It's shifted to coffee. It's coffee in the morning.
Great coffee. Yeah, indeed. Well, let's talk a little bit about the program that you guys are doing, because I think it's really interesting. I find that oftentimes, not just with string quartets, but in classical music in general, we tend to have this format or this formula of programming where you do like 3 major quartets on a program, 2 before intermission, 1 after intermission. And you guys are turning this on its head a little bit. And I think it's cool. And I want to talk about that a little bit because you're doing the Mozart dissonance. So that's a big quartet, but then just one movement from Schubert Death and the Maiden, followed by Kevin Puts His Home. And then after intermission, then you're just doing one movement from a Schumann quartet and then the full Brahms C minor. So tell us about this, because I'm intrigued and I'm delighted. You know, I love when things are turned on their head.
Well, the Miró Quartet's been really interested. We started this project, I think we might have talked about it in an earlier time, about 5-6 years ago, about looking back at historical quartet programs. We called it the Miró Quartet Archive Project. And one of the things that we've forgotten, I think, as a music listening public these days, is that 100 years ago, playing movements of pieces, not playing whole pieces, certainly that salon concert vibe where you come in for kind of a party experience and the performers are choosing exactly what they want to play, kind of like a chef picking exactly what they want to serve that day, whether it's a large meal or a small little taste. So we saw a lot of the programs that they were doing in the past were really like that. And that was actually more the norm than what you're saying now. We expect this 3-piece program. And we've been mixing that into all of our programming for the last 5, 6, 7 years. Sometimes in programs with no intermission. Sometimes programs like this one that kind of carry a Viennese through theme, you know, from Mozart all the way up to Brahms and Schumann, and presenting actually whole works from all of these composers really would be too overwhelming. But there's something wonderful balancing that variations movement, as you mentioned, from Schubert Death and the Maiden with a Mozart quartet, and hearing the lyrical qualities, the inspiration, the dialogue between Schubert and one of the composers he admired, Mozart. And also we're trying to do that a little bit with the Schumann and the Brahms. There's a devilish quality to Schumann's scherzo that in many ways is expanded on in Brahms, who is his protege. And hearing these connections between composers and pieces, particularly when we can give just little tastes of some of those pieces, I think can be fun for us to talk about from stage, fun for the audience, maybe spark some new connections and listening to music that is perhaps familiar.
Yeah, well, yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, you go first.
Well, I just want to say, how do your audiences like relate to this, and how do they? I mean, I bet they love it. I know they love it. I already know they love it. But tell us what do you think about in terms of like the communication with the audience, how that kind of changes that experience with this format?
I mean, I would say, again, since we're often, well, we always are talking before each of these pieces to kind of explain why we're choosing them and what these pieces and movements mean to us. I feel like it breaks down a little bit of that wall between the performers and the audience when they see this kind of monumental 3-piece program. And that means we're going to play for maybe 20, 30, 35 minutes without any talking. It's a long thing. I do feel like it can create a little bit of a distance between us and the audience. And in some of the programs, like we just did a fun program at KMFA last week of totally different repertoire, but a similar mix of complete pieces and movements. I do feel like after the show, our audience fans like want to engage about, well, I like this best, or I loved the contrast of this and that. There's just more variety for them. And I feel like they become more active participants in listening in the show. And there's less of this kind of standoffish or distanced feeling maybe that the 3-piece program gives. I don't know.
Do you think also it's just awesome because you get more applause in general, you know? Like...
Yes. In fact, at that last concert, we opened the show with Will making sure everyone knew that the applause meter was on and looking for maximum response at all times.
We took the clap. We released the clapping.
Yes.
Yeah, and, right.
I think the other thing it adds is because we each speak a little bit. One thing that a lot of music shows outside of the classical realm have is this room for everybody to get to know the artist. And there's 4 personalities on stage, sometimes 5 when you join us, and they make their own judgments or take in that experience, and that's also part of what is really great about programs like this is they get to see and hear from each one of us and actually get to know us in different ways. And that in itself forms a different connection with the piece or the artist, or how the Miró Quartet actually might work together, and how we play off of each other, both in personality as well as in performance and playing.
Well, and I think, honestly, it's just another one of the things that makes you guys so exceptional. Just the playing is so fabulous, so engaging. But the fact that each one of you have such great personalities on the stage, like, this is unusual. Can we just say this? To name names, but like usually there's someone, if they're quartet, if they'll even speak to the audience, usually there's like sort of one head person who is comfortable doing that, and everyone else is like, well, I don't do that. That's not my thing. But all of you are comfortable and also see it as a like point of like, that's important for us to be able to be relatable and not to have just one person kind of take that over. So it's one of the things that makes you guys so wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's something we work at.
We do.
And just like in our playing, we talk to each other about, hey, how about shaping that maybe a little bit this way, or watch out for that word.
Right. And I mean, I think you're totally right in that, honestly, we believe that a string quartet should be 4 equal voices in the music with their own personalities and being able to express their own individuality through the music. And if we don't kind of embody that on stage from the beginning to the end of the show, whether we're playing or not, then we're kind of not really committing to that ideal, right, of the string quartet and what it means. So we do tell our students that this is an important thing for them to work on as artists too.
Yeah. And for you guys as touring artists, you have your various shticks that you go through. Is it ever frustrating that you have your hilarious jokes and that your quartet members are going to be hearing the same joke night after night?
No, because they're good jokes. They're the best jokes ever.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we don't. I think also in the spirit of the quartet, that's interesting to consider. So one of the things that we are constantly talking about artistically in, say, the Mozart Dissonant Quartet is how do we keep this fresh? So the way we rehearse and what we're looking for in our rehearsals is actually not the way to play it, but sort of the parameters around, okay, well, is this a 1-lane highway? Is this like the road to the sun where you're almost falling off the cliff? Or is this like 10 lanes and have at it? Let's see what happens. It's similar in the same way with the talks, that, well, there's a framework to what somebody might speak about with that piece. It's always different, and it's different because we are connecting with the audience. So that energy from the audience, or that, I'm looking out my window here at the mountains of Monterey, like how that inspires me to connect with the city and the community. And then Mozart Dissonance Quartet is going to be slightly different than when I'm at home, in Austin, surrounded by my home crowd. And so each one of these talks, well, some of the jokes kind of slip in a similar way. It's always a little bit different. And I think you'll find the other 3 quartet members sitting there on stage being like, whoa, okay, yeah, that was funny. Rather than, oh my God, here we go again.
And maybe that's like the glorious thing about chamber music too, like, just to relay again to audiences, you guys are always rehearsing, obviously what you're going to do, but like, it's always fresh and new, right? And I mean, I know for me, when I'm playing chamber music, I love to play with people that I trust, that I know that if I take a phrase in a different way, they will respond, and then they'll respond in kind to do something different, so that we are like, it's as much improvising as it is, playing a score. And do you want to just say something about that? Because I know that that's what's happening with you guys too.
Well, I mean, for sure. I mean, and the more voices you add on stage that you have that trust with, the more exploration and surprising things can happen each night, just because everyone is excited, interested, looking for possibilities. And someone will always come up with something that we have never thought of before on stage.
That's the magic of the stage, right? The magic of the performance.
It is.
There's good magic and there's bad magic, but it's all magic.
It's all magic.
Well, we're really, really super looking forward to this show, and it's been a while since we've done this for the festival, and so it's just super exciting for us. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat. You guys are coming home soon, right? In a couple days.
Couple days we'll be back, and thank you, Michelle, for bringing us on again.
Thank you.
We love your audience. It is one of a very special home for us, and to be able to share what we do with everybody there in Austin through Austin Chamber Music Center is just amazing. So can't wait. Looking forward to it, and we'll bring the other 2. We promise. Maybe.
Well,
maybe.
But the inner voices will still be.
We're still the
All right, you guys have a great time in Mexico. We'll see you in a week.
All right, thanks, Michelle.
Adios.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.